everyone. Let's talk about our NRL Hunter rifles for next season. So when I started shooting NRL Hunter, I was running a Tikka in 308, and I had a lot of fun with that rifle, and I thought power factor was really everything. And the more we shot it, the more we realized that power factor really didn't mean all that much. And there was a match up in Tuscaloosa, the Steel City match at the beginning of the year, where we had got off a stage and got kind of to the end of the day, and we were talking about, you know, the wind and kind of some of the things we'd encountered, you know, our buddies that were also shooting that day. And I realized that there was a bear target at, say, like 800 or 900 yards, and I was holding over 2 mils of wind to hit that target. And my buddies that were shooting Creedmoor were only holding 0.7 or so to hit that same target. And I decided, well, I got to build a more optimal rifle for Hunter. So that last season, I picked up a cert for one of these pure precision skeleton actions, which we'll talk about more in a second, and also a cert for then a barrel that I got in 6.5 with a 7 twist that I chambered in Creedmoor. And I went ahead and built a 6.5 Creedmoor rifle and shot a lot better with that the matches following. Well, fast forward to before the Louisiana match that Robert Brantley runs, and Jesse and I were out at the range just truing up our dope, checking our guns, just making sure everything was sorted out before we went to go shoot that match. And upon chronoing both of our rifles, mine a 6.5 Creedmoor, his a 6.5 we realized we were both running 140 grain Berger bullets at almost the exact same speed. I was running 27.85 and he was 27.82. And so after we realized that our data would be the same, we went and tested it that afternoon and realized that, hey, everything's identical here. So we went and ran Teams Division, had a lot of fun with it, and finished second overall in teams at that match. And kind of from that match forward, we've been hooked on Teams Division and just had a lot of fun with it. So for this next season, we decided let's build some true Team Division rifles. And so he also got a cert for one of these skeletons and picked it up. And so now we're building identical 25x47 Lapuas off these skeleton actions. So Pure Precision's been a big supporter of NRL Hunter, and so we've really enjoyed these. My action's pretty well broken in. I think I have about 800 rounds on it to the Creedmoor through Hunter matches this year. It's a 75-degree bolt throw action. Really lightweight. These things only weigh, I think, 21 ounces, and they're a steel action. The bolt is incredibly smooth on them. I mean, you can see they run really well. The bolt lift is not bad at all, and they're just very, very awesome, solid actions. You know, one piece lug, screwed with 840 screws and pinned in the top. And so I've really enjoyed mine. It shot great for me, and so being that Jesse also had the opportunity to pick up a skeleton action, it was a no-brainer that we would build our team rifles off of these actions. So here's a 25x47 Lapua loaded round, and you might ask, well, why 25-47 when your 6.5s both made the cut, you know, on power factor and is more readily available ammo? Well, if you look into other shooting divisions and matches, I really like to run like 22 Creedmoor and 22 GT, and I really like to have these really small bullets going fast, but they're still relatively high BC. And now with this influx in higher BC 25 cal bullets coming out, we really like the idea of running one of these really high BC faster bullets. And our goal here is to get somewhere in the 2,900 foot per second range with the 135 Bergers. These are just 134 Hornadies to kind of start the testing with, but we'd really like to try to get that same concept into Hunter, because you're making kind of unknown guesses at, you know, wind calls with not a lot of information. If you're shooting in different directions or over different ridge lines and ravines, you don't have a lot of the time you would have at a PRS match to say sit on glass and really judge the wind. And so in Teams Division, we have more time to do that than we would as individuals, but why leave any of that to chance? If we could run a higher BC at a higher speed, the recoil is going to be a little bit less, and the downrange performance should be great, you know, out to 1,000 yards. And so that's one of the reasons we're going to chase this caliber. So we've got some M24 7 twist barrel blanks here that we're going to spin up, and I'm not going to take you along for the whole process of building these rifles from start to finish, give you some highlights, and hopefully we'll follow along with a series to show you kind of as we load develop them and proceed from there. So all right, so here is my final cut tenon. I've got it threaded, I've got the bolt nose recess done, I've got the chamber cut, everything's done, headspace is set. So here I just want to show kind of how little run out I can hold in a chamber. So here you can see at the back of the chamber, I've got well under a 10,000th of an inch of run out, and then I can bump that forward to the front of the chamber. And you can see that I'm still holding well under a 10,000th of an inch of run out in that chamber, and that chamber is truly concentric and straight and ready to rock and roll. Alright, so here I've got my go and no-go gauges. Let's take my go gauge, drop it into the chamber. Bolt closes and drops freely. And then my no-go. Notice how the bolt does not close on the no-go gauge, just as it should. Alright, so here is the second barrel all finished out. And it also has well under a 10,000th of run out. Alright, so this here is a group where I just put a round on paper and then just kept shooting that group. And as you can see, that gun's doing pretty well. And then here's another instance where I found a hole on paper here and I just kept shooting it. And so there was like a 308 or a 30-06 or something in this hole. And I just kept shooting a couple through that hole and one went over to the right. But as you can see, that gun's doing pretty well as a whole. These are at 100 yards. It's a Ram at 550. These Rams are at 550. We were using them to just check dope at distance. Just right out of the gate, started on these guys, and we were just putting shots on plate and holding on our shots to hit more. I think both guns are doing pretty well. I'm on the left, Jesse's on the right. Here's a little 8-inch square at 700. I tore that guy up pretty good. Waterline looks pretty good at 800 as well. All right, we're at 1,000 yards now.
2 shots of the grand. 2 shots of the grand. 2 shots of the grand.
It's pretty good. And here's the 1,000-yard circle everybody likes to shoot. It's just littered from all kinds of people shooting on the range today. So today was our first time going out and testing these 25x47s, and man, I can tell you, we are both really impressed with this cartridge and these 2 new rifles. As a whole, I think it did a very good job building these rifles to exact specs, because even with identical barrels and identical actions, identical triggers, the length on the barrels are within, a couple thousandths of each other from, bolt face to crown. And
you could see that performance downrange. I mean, they were just performing identically. That's the goal for Teams Division. We want the same setups so that our wing calls stay the same, our drops stay the same, and now all that's left is for us to just work together to get our proper hits. Today we were shooting the 134 Hornadies, and I think we were running somewhere in the 40.5 grain. I think it was 40.5 grains of 4350 in 65x47 alpha brass that we necked down with a 281 bushing. With this, we saw speeds that were 2840 in the beginning of the day, and they slowly sped up. My rifle gained about 0.2 of speed by the time we were done with the day. I never counted at the end because our whole goal for the day was to get 100 rounds down these barrels and to get them broken in and speed up. We're hoping to see about 2,900 feet per second with the 135 burgers by the time we finish load development. But just to conclude, you know, we're real happy with the rifles, and we hope you'll stick around to kind of watch our next videos about load development and kind of the journey we go on with these rifles through NRL Hunter Teams Division this next season. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.